WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh. So just before we start, we're just going to do a more mantra together. So we may have had a stressful week, a busy week. And so if we just focus our minds in this blessed Mool Mantra we've been blessed to by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and just imagine all those melt away. Ik Oankar Satanam Karta Purukh Nirbhau Nirvair Akal Murat Ajuni Sapang Gur Prasad Jap Ad Sach Jugad Sach Hai Bhi Sach Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach Gyan Dhyan Kich Karm Na Jana Sar Na Jana Teri Sab Te Vadda Satguru Nanak Jin Kal Rakhi Meri Gyan Dhyan Kich Karm Na Jana Sar Na Jana Teri Sab Te Vadda Satguru Nanak Jin Kal Rakhi Meri. WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh. So welcome to week 26, I believe. Feels like I've not been here for ages, so it's really nice to see the Sangat again. Just a reminder, if you haven't joined the WhatsApp group, we kind of put updates whether the talk's going to be on, the posters, and some highlights as well. So if you haven't already joined, I recommend just scanning that. Or if you want to wait to the end, you can scan it as well. So just as a recap from last week, so we talked about the endless qualities of WhyGuru Ji. Antana Sipti, Kahanana Anta, Antana Karane, Deanana Anta. Right? So they've got endless praises, endless actions. Their vision is endless, right? Their mystery is endless. So many endless qualities of WhyGuru Ji. And this is because they are beyond limit, right? They are limitless. No matter how much we try and find their limit, we're never going to be able to find it. They are so high, but even higher is Naam, right? Remembering WhyGuru Ji, reading Gurbani. And that's only by the glance of grace we get blessed. And this is what we're here for, right? To get the glance of grace of our Guru, to make them happy so they can bless us. Because when they bless us, we get everything. So the Sikhs carry on speaking with Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and they said, how does that one provide everything to everybody, right? They're always providing. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji answers with Bahota Karma Likhya Na Jaye. So they're saying that WhyGuru Ji's Karam, so their actions, they are Bahota, they are so great, right? There's so much of it. So much so that Likhya Na Jaye, that we cannot write this down, right? WhyGuru Ji's doings, their actions, they are so great, there's no way we can even write down a small portion of it, right? If you look at the creation they made, how they sustain us all, how they destroy things as well. And just as some examples, I thought it'd be interesting that if we look at every second, what happens in the world, what WhyGuru Ji does. So every second, there's 4 babies born, right? Every single second. And if we look at how we're sustained as individuals, there's red blood cells that are made in our body every single second, right? To sustain this blood that we need. Can anybody guess how many new red blood cells are made every single second? Bit of a sciencey question. 5, 10, 20? Anybody want to guess? Before I pick on some of my favorites. 100? So it's actually 2 million, right? Every single second, 2 million red blood cells are made. And then if we look at every second, how many people die? Right? 2 people every single second pass away, right? So they show their destructive force as well. And if we look at nature, that every single second, 100 lightning bolts strike the earth. Every single second. Does anybody recognize which waterfall this is? Oh, Hanji, before I was going to go to Bahamana Singh, Hanji, yeah? Hanji, Niagara Falls, right? So this is an amazing waterfall. And can anybody guess, every second, how many kilograms of water is falling? Every single second. Anyone have a guess? There's no judgment if you get it wrong. Loads. Give me a more specific number. How deep sing? 100,000. So it's actually 3 million, right? 3 million kilograms of water every single second that's falling from Niagara Falls. And then we can look at our body as well, right? that WhyGuru has given us so many things. Another meaning of karam in this pankti means blessings. Right? So we are blessed with this human body that is so complex, but so perfect at the same time. Right? We have arms, legs, our eyes. A few weeks ago, we covered the story of Sant Baba Shyam Singh Ji, where they would give water to the Sangat. But before they would give the water, they would say, Akho WhyGuru Ji. Right? And one person came and they said, why should I say WhyGuru? What have they done for me? So then they came the next day, and Sant Baba Shyam Singh Ji, just in very summarized form, they bought thousands of rupees, which back then was like millions, right? Loads. And he said to that person, said, give me your eyes, both your eyes, and I'll give you all this money. And that person said, no. And he realized how priceless his eyes were. And if we look at our body, what is the most priceless gift that we get given in our body? What is it that without, we wouldn't even be here? Every single second we're given this gift. Hanji. Hanji, our breaths, right? We're so lucky that we get breaths. Every single breath we should nurture, we should cherish so much. And there's just a story on this. So there was a great being, there's a Mahapurukh, right? A saint who would always be in remembrance of WhyGuru. And his time on this earth was coming to an end. So his sevadars, they all gathered around him and they said, oh Mahapurukh, oh great being, please bless us with a teaching so we can implement it into our lives. And this Mahapurukh, they said, look, my breaths are very, very limited now. But he said, but you guys, you are very wealthy. So what I want you to do is go to the marketplace and buy me some more breaths. Right? And these sevadars, because they were in so much emotion, knowing that that great being was going to leave this world, you know, they weren't thinking straight. So they thought, yeah, let's go to the marketplace. We're going to buy loads of breaths, right? Bare breaths. So they went to all these different shops, the jewelers, you know, selling gold, silver. They went to the bookshops. They went to the clothes shops. And every single place where they asked, can you give me some breaths? They said, you fool. Where are you going to buy breaths from? And confused, they went back to that Mahapurukh. And they said, we can't buy any breaths. We can't find anywhere that sells these. And that Mahapurukh said, this is the teaching, right? That every single breath is priceless. You can't get any more of them. So we should take care that every single breath, we should make use of it. Serve the Sadh Sangat. Do good for others. And remember WhyGuru Ji. He said, because this human body, this doesn't get given to us again and again, is very, very rare. And there's a pankti, Har jap dya khin til na ki jai, meri jindudiye, mat ke jape, sahu ave, ke na ave ram. So they're saying that, meri jindudiye, oh, like my soul, my atma, they're saying that don't hesitate even for one kin. Right? That time it takes for us to blink our eyes to remember WhyGuru Ji. He says, because you don't know whether we're going to get another breath or whether we're not. And they say, Sa vela, so murta, sa kadi, so mohat, safal hai meri jindudiye, e jit har mera chit ave ram. So they're saying, Sa vela, that time. Then they say, so murta. So murta is 2 kadiya. Right? So 1 kadi is about 24 minutes. So they're saying that in those 48 minutes, sa kadi, in that 24 minutes, so muhatta, which is half a kadi, so 12 minutes, they say that is safal hai, that is fruitful, oh my soul, meri jindudiye, if in our minds comes the remembrance of WhyGuru Ji. So they're saying all these little time periods that have been made up, that if we're remembering WhyGuru Ji, then those time periods are going to be safal, they're going to be fruitful. Then Guruji says, Vadda data til natamaye. So they're saying that data, that giver, they are so vadda. They are so great, right? They're amazing. And why is this so? Why are they so amazing? Because tiranatamai, that they don't have even a sesame seed's worth of greed. Meaning that WhyGuru Ji doesn't even have a sesame seed's worth of expectation for us to give something back to them, right? And this is why they're such a great giver. If you think about this world, that when we give things to people, right, we might give and give and give, but if we're not getting anything back, many people will just stop giving. It's very, very rare those people that will give no matter what. They will unconditionally love. And this is like WhyGuru Ji, right? Every single breath we take, they're not asking for something back. And there's a story where there's a prophet, and they went to WhyGuru Ji. They said, WhyGuru Ji, you provide food for everybody. They said, give me that responsibility. Let me do that. I'll feed everybody. WhyGuru said, no, you won't be able to. He said, you're going to have to feed every single person. And the Prophet said, no, please, just give me a chance. I will feed everybody. I won't miss anybody out. So WhyGuru goes, all right, then that's fine then. Now it's your responsibility. So that Prophet then feeds everybody apart from one person. Because he sees that person in the graveyard is committing a sin of digging up dead bodies and committing sinful acts. And so he doesn't give any food to them. At the end of the day, WhyGuru says, they said, so, did you feed everybody? And they said, yeah, I fed everyone, apart from this one person in the graveyard, right? That they deserve to starve for what they're doing. And WhyGuru said that if I only gave to those people that didn't sin, then the whole of humanity will be starving. It says that many people, we all make mistakes, we all do certain wrong things, but WhyGuru still give us food. They still give us breaths, right? And this is a lesson that Prophet learnt. Then Guruji says, Kete manga hai jod apar. So they're saying, oh apar, oh that one that is beyond limit, apar, limitless. They're saying, Kete, so many people manga hai ask for jod, to be a warrior, for the ability to be a warrior. And we can look at the example of Bhai Uday Singh Ji. So Bhai Uday Singh Ji, they were with Guru Gobind Singh Ji when they were leaving city Anandpur Sahib. And when they were running away from the Mughals were chasing after them, the Hill Raja were chasing after them, they reached the river Sarsa. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji said to Bhai Uday Singh Ji, he said, you go back and hold them off while we cross the river. Baba Ajit Singh Ji, they were also holding them off. They said, go get Baba Ajit Singh Ji, tell them to come to me, and you go with your soldiers, and they'll hold them back. And Bhai Uday Singh Ji, they asked for this blessing to be a warrior. And they knew that they weren't going to come back. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji said to them, he said that don't worry, we're going to meet again in Sachkhand. We're going to be close. That whilst you're fighting, remember the Guru. When you're going to die, remember the Guru. And so then he gave Bhai Uday Singh Ji like a tapada, right? A pat on the back to say, go destroy the enemies. So Bhai Uday Singh Ji went with his 50 soldiers, these hooded soldiers, and when they reached the battlefield, Bhai Uday Singh Ji, they did such a loud jakara that all the enemy soldiers, they stopped and they got shocked. And they thought, this guy, he's going to cause mayhem. And those soldiers, they were fighting like hungry lions, right? They were slicing through them all. And the generals of the Mughals, they were swearing at their soldiers. They said, what are you guys doing? There's only 50 of those soldiers, and yet we're struggling. We've got hundreds of thousands of soldiers. And then it reached a time where they shot so many bullets and arrows, most of the Singhs, they got pierced. And it's only just Bhai Uday Singh Ji left. And Bhai Uday Singh Ji, they were fighting like a crocodile. They were slicing. They were just chopping people up. They have blood all over their sword. They have blood all over their body. And the Mughal soldiers, they were saying that this has to be Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Nobody can fight this courageously. Nobody can be this skilled, this strong. That the enemy soldiers, they were even fearful of going near Bhai Uday Singh Ji, because he just had that power, that aura of power around him. And Bhai Uday Singh Ji, eventually, they shot many bullets in them and they became shaheed. But they asked for this blessing to be a warrior. Ketya ganata nahi vichar. That nahi vichar, that we cannot do the contemplation on the count, how many people ask for things for WhyGuru Ji. Right? So we cannot complain that number of people that ask for things from WhyGuru Ji. And if we just think about the amount of people that ask for gifts, right? We can just go downstairs and ardas, and we can probably hear all the things they want, right? Like the typical ones are, vyah vaste, money, wealth, exams. That was my one. Like if you think about, for me, when I was younger, the one time in the year, guaranteed I was going to be a bare religious, it was exam time, right? The rest of the year, I didn't do anything. When it came to exam time, I was like depressed, I was like stressed. And it's when I just had no other choice, I thought, you know what, why could you please help me? And then after exams, I was back to normal. Kete khapa tukta hevekar. He said, Kete, that so many are absorbed, and then they break themselves tukta in the vekara, right? The panch jod. Can anybody remember what the panch jod were? They got little clues in these emojis. I think it's from one of our YouTube videos. Hanji? Hanji, Kaam Krodh, 2, yeah? Lobh Moh Ahankar, Hanji, yeah. So in Gurbani it says, Is dehi andar panch chor vas hai, kam, krodh, lobh, moh, ahankara. Right? In this body, these panch chor, these 5 thieves are residing. Right? Kam, krodh, lobh, moh, ahankara. So kam, desires, krodh, anger, lobh, greed, moh, attachment, and ahankar, pride. And what is it that they're actually stealing from us? What is it that these jor are stealing from us? Hanji. Our swasya, our breaths. How is it that they're stealing our breaths? As in, Hanji. Hanji. Thank you so much. Yes, they're stealing our breaths. Another thing that Gurbani tells us they're stealing is Amrit. So that Amrit is inside each of us. Guruji says, Amrit loota hai, man mukh nahi booja hai, koi na sunay pukara. So it's saying that they're stealing the Amrit that is inside each and every one of us. Manamukh nahi booja hai, that the Manamukhs, those that face their own mind, they don't understand this. And they say, Koi na sunay pukara. Nobody's going to hear their cries. And that, so the topic of kind of anger is going to come a couple of times in this presentation. So if we look at this anger, that if you tell the average person, don't get angry, right? For example, let's just say a male, right? If you say, look, don't get angry, many of us say, you know what? I need anger to make myself feel like I've got some kind of control, right? That I'm powerful. But what they don't realize is that it's actually a weakness, right? Anger is a weakness, and it's actually harming them in the long run. And just an example on anger is in a story I heard recently, that there was a child and they would always lose their temper. And their father thought, right, how do I get rid of their temper? How do I reduce their temper? Because it's not good for them and it's not good for the family. So he said to that child, he said, right, every time you get angry now, I want you to go outside to the fence and hammer a nail into the fence. And so the first day, that child, they hammered 37 nails into the fence, right? Very angry child. So that child was thinking, you know what? This is such an effort, like to bang in 37 nails into the fence. And they thought, you know what? It's easier if I just don't get angry. So slowly, that kid started getting angry less. And it reached a day where in the whole day, they never got angry. Then the father said to him, they said, right, now for every day you don't get angry, I want you to take out one of the nails in the fence. And eventually reached a day where all the nails have been taken out. And the father said to him, go look at the fence. You've ruined it. There's holes in that fence. And it says in that same way, when we're angry, and many of us, when we say things that afterwards we regret, we leave holes inside of people. Right? We leave scars in them. Right? When we get hit, for example, we can repair in, a few hours, few days. But I'm sure we've all experienced it. When we hit somebody with the anger of our words, we remember that for years, right? 5 years, 10 years. That even in my family, a while ago, we had some family members I'd never seen before. I said to my grandparents, I said, oh, who are they? I said, oh, that's our close relatives. We just fell out with them for 20 years. I was like, what? I'm sure some of you can relate as well. Just over like a small bit of anger, we say something and that's it. Like that relationship is just broken. And then 20 years later, they pop up out of nowhere. Kete la mukkar pahe. Kete, that many, they take and take, mukkar pahe. But then they deny that they've taken something, right? They pretend like they were never given anything. And many people do that in this world as well, that they say, you know what, I've done everything. WhyGuruji hasn't done everything. I've worked hard for it myself. Like we hear sometimes these millionaires or billionaires, they say, I'm a self-made billionaire. I did everything. No, you didn't, right? They didn't choose where they were born, which family they were born into. They didn't choose which nursery or school they were put into, or the people that they met. All these things is a play that WhyGuruji has actually orchestrated, right? And they're just fortunate that those circumstances, they're even then given the ability to maybe be disciplined or be smart, right? It's all WhyGuruji's play. And there's a story of 2 Singhs, so by Mala Singh Ji and by Lahora Singh Ji. And they were Sikhs of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And they used to go every single year to Sri Anandpur Sahib to witness the celebrations of Holla Mahalla and get darshan of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And because they were traveling so often together every single year, they developed quite a strong bond. They had a lot of love and respect for each other. And so one year, by Lahora Singh Ji, they said, I'm in a bit of a tough situation financially, right? I need some money. And by Mala Singh Ji, without even a hesitation, they said, here's 100 rupees. But they said, give it back as soon as possible. And by Lahora Singh Ji, they agreed. And back then, if you think about 100 rupees, it was a lot of money. When I searched up on an inflation calculator, it worked out to be about 17,000 rupees, right? So at that time, it's a lot of money just to give to somebody. And so the next year, when Bhai Mala Singh Ji saw Bhai Lahora Singh Ji, he said, "Oh, have you got that money?" And he said, "Oh, sorry, I didn't have time to get it. When I go home, I'll send you the money." When he went home, did he send it? No. The next year, when they go on the same trip, Bhai Mala Singh Ji says, "Have you got my money?" And he said, nothing. He ignored it, right? He just ignored he didn't acknowledge any sign that he'd borrowed money. Then the next year, again, Bhai Mala Singh Ji said, "Have you got my money?" And Bhai Lahora Singh Ji said, "What money are you talking about? Go away, get away from me." And Bhai Mala Singh Ji said, "You're going to have to settle this account, right? You owe me money. You're going to have to settle it." And Bhai Lahora Singh Ji, they tried to quote a Bhakti from Gurbani to try and justify what he was doing. He said, "Koi na puchhei," they said, "Koi na lekha koi na puchhei, ja har baksanda." Right? Saying that nobody's going to ask my account if WhyGuru, if the Guru blesses me, right? They're going to be with me. No one's going to ask my account. So this thing you're saying we need to settle, it's not going to be asked from me. So Bhai Mala Singh Ji goes to Guru Gobind Singh Ji and explain the whole situation. That, look, this is what Bhai Lahora Singh Ji is doing. He's saying that he's not even taking anything. So Guru Gobind Singh Ji calls this thing over. And he says, what you're doing, what you've done is not good. Number one, you took from somebody, you borrowed from somebody, and then you denied even taking it. Right? This is not good. You need to give him the money back. And he says, secondly, you're misquoting the meaning of Gurbani. Right? If you're going to quote Gurbani, know the meaning of it. And he says, if you think that the Guru is going to stand by you, then you haven't heard the other Bhakti. They said, Hak paraya nanaka usasur usagaye, Gurpira hama ta pare, ja murdar na khaye. So they're saying that if you're taking, so hak paraya, if you're taking that what rightfully belongs to another, right, that somebody else owns, then Guru Nanak is saying it's like a Muslim eating pork, right, something that's like forbidden in their faith. And it's like a Hindu eating from a cow, a guy, right, beef. And they're saying that the Guru will only stand by you if you don't consume what belongs to somebody else. And this is exactly what he did. He consumed what belonged to somebody else, and he denied any taking of it. And there's another story of Sutra Shah. So this is one of Guru Gobind Singh Ji's companions. He always used to make him laugh. He had very kind of funny ways of displaying the teachings of the Guru. And so Sutra Shah, they would go to this local shop always. They would get lassi, they would get sweet, they would get all these different delicacies. And the shop owner thought, look, this is a Sikh of the Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Ji. I should at least give him like a tab or something, right? Give him some credit. So Sutra Shah, they kept on going to this place again and again, and they built up quite a big bill. And that shopkeeper was keeping an account of all of it. And when he said to Sutra Shah, he said, Sutra Shah, like, can you like settle your account? Because it's quite a lot and I need the money. And Sutra Shah said, what are you talking about? Never took anything. And the shopkeeper was like, no, like, you've been taking it for months. And he denied it. He said, no, I've not taken anything. So Sutra Shah then goes to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And they said, look, can you settle this guy's account? Because he's refusing that he even took anything. So Guru Gobind Singh Ji, they called Sutra Shah over and they said, what's going on here? Like, apparently you've been eating at this place and you're not paying him. And Sutra Shah said, no, I haven't taken anything. Didn't have anything from that shop. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji said, well, here's a list of all the things you've taken. So here's the evidence. What are you talking about? And Sutra Shah said, Guruji, I'm only just following your teachings. Guru Gobind Singh Ji said, what do you mean? And Sutra Shah said, you say in your Bani, kete la la mukar pahe, that people take and then they deny taking it. So I'm just doing that. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji, they said, why don't you finish the next line? What comes next? And Sutra Shah saying, no, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, don't make me read the next line. Get another Sikh to read the next line. And what was the next line? Kete murkh kahi kahe. That kete many murkhs, fools, kahi kahe. They eat and they eat. Whilst they consume things, they deny that they even got it in the first place, right? So Guru Gobind Singh Ji told their treasurer, settle the account, and they told Sutra Shah, like, you better sort your behavior out, right? Because Sutra Shah, they used to do all these different funny things. So kete murkh kahi kahe. Then ketya dukh puk sadmar. That ketya, many people, sad always beating. So they bear the beating of dukh, of pain, and pukh, of hunger. Right? The many people in this world, they go through these sufferings, right? Whether it's hungry or whether it's their own personal suffering. But Guruji says, "Ehe pe daat, teri daatar." Sorry, the daat, this is actually a gift as well of this duk, of this book, right? So this is also a gift, and it's yours gift by Guruji, right? O daatar, O giver. These things, this duk and this book that we're always facing, this is a gift. So, question to the Sangat, how is suffering a gift? So Guruji is saying many people experience suffering, hunger, but it's a gift. Hanji? Makes you remember WhyGuru. Hanji. Yeah, so it makes you remember WhyGuru. We're here in Vera Sahib as well. Dukh daru, sukh rog paya. That dukh is actually the medicine, and sukh actually gives you the disease. Like the example I mentioned earlier, when I was in suffering in my exams, like proper first world problem, like that was the kind of catalyst for me to then remember WhyGuru. Right? And there's a quote that we've mentioned a few times in the talks, and I'm going to play the scene from the movie that this quote is actually from, because I think when we see the little scene, like the message can be that much more powerful. And then I'll ask if people can remember what the quote actually was. Hopefully the volume's louder this time, because last time it was a mess, but the subtitles anyway. So basically, just young child, they're playing with their friend, they try and hide, they fall, and as the girl then goes and gets his dad, while he's down there, he's basically broken his leg, and he essentially gets like attacked by loads of bats. And we're just going to pick up from when his father comes and gets him.
You'll be okay. Would we be needing an ambulance, Master Wayne?
I'll set the bone and take him for an x-ray later.
Very good, sir.
I'm very sorry, sir.
Don't worry, that's fine.
Took quite a fall, didn't we, Master Bruce?
And why do we fall, Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves up.
Sorry, I realized I was half in the way of the subtitles the whole time. Apologies for that. Did anybody know what is the quote that we've mentioned a few times in our talks? Is there a quote that stuck out from that scene? Ripandi Singh? Hanji. So the quote is, "Why do we fall? So we can learn to pick ourselves back up." Right? It's actually such a powerful quote. If you think about that, many of us, right, that we all have fallen. We may be falling right now, right? We may be suffering right now. But when we come out of this, which we eventually do, when we come out of this suffering, when we learn to pick ourselves up, what does it actually do for us, right? We may be going through financial difficulties, relationship difficulties, health difficulties, right? These are all types of suffering. These are all types where we're falling, right? But when we come out of this, there's two things that happen. Number one, it actually makes us stronger, right? I know friends that they've gone through such unimaginable pain, so much horrible things have happened to them, but because they've come out of it, they've learned to pick themselves up from that situation. They're actually so strong now. And I respect them so much for it. But also, when we go through pain and we come out of it the other side, we can actually then help other people as well. Other people that may be going through similar situations. And just one personal story, I went with somebody close to me for support to the Alcoholics Anonymous. So I went there to support them. And the setup of that place, so there's meetings that happen everywhere on a regular basis. So those people that are struggling with alcohol addiction, or on the recovering path, or that have been sober for a little while. So they can attend these meetings that happen pretty much every single day around every local area. It's worldwide, actually. And the meetings are actually led by a few people who they themselves were alcohol addicts, right? They were struggling with alcoholism. And they had gone through that dukh of losing their loved ones, relationships being broken, losing all their money spending on alcohol, losing their jobs, right? Destroying their own bodies. But because now they're sober and they've picked themselves up, they know now how to get out of it, they are then now able to help other people. So in that time, they may be going through dukh, they may be going through suffering, but in a way it's also a gift as well. Because now those people can give back to other people. And for me, it was such an eye-opening, it was such a It was actually an amazing experience to see like the support that people had there. That you could see people who were there were either just still even drunk, or they'd just come off a drunk night where they've just, they've been sleeping outside in the fields or whatever, or had to sleep in their car. And when they go in there, these people who have already experienced these kind of things, they're just there with such non-judgment, right? So much love. And the framework that they use is actually focused around God as well. They're saying that there is a higher power. We need to submit to that higher power. So it's just an example that when we go through suffering, it can also be a gift, just like Guruji says, right? Teri daatar. Band khalasi paane hoye. So those that are living in the will of WhyGuruji, right, in the Pana, then what happens to their band, their shackles? They are released, right? They are freed from these things. What shackles do we experience in this world? Hanji. The Panch Jod, yep, Hanji. The Panch Jod. What other shackles? Hanji, I can always rely on you, VG. Sorry? Reincarnation, yet, so the cycle of birth and death. So we also have, begins with M, giving a massive clue. Begins with M. Hanji? Maya, thank you so much, Benji. Yes, so Maya, right? All these things that can take us away from WhyGuruji, that they actually keep us in shackles. And also we have Agyanata as well, right? Where we don't have that knowledge of WhyGuruji. That many people walk around this world just have no idea that there is a WhyGuru out there, right? That there is a WhyGuruji that's inside of them. Right? So when we live in that acceptance of WhyGuruji's will, just like Guru Arjan Dev Ji did, Tera kiya meetha lage, that when they were sitting on Tatti Tavi, they said, WhyGuruji, your actions, they're so sweet to me. Right? They showed us truly what acceptance is. Then Hor Aakh na sake koi. So they're saying that nobody is able to speak that there is another way to get mukti apart from living in the will of WhyGuruji. Right? So nobody's able to speak that there's another way to get mukti, to get liberation from this cycle of life and death, apart from living in that acceptance. Je ko khaik aakhan paaye. So je, if anybody, khaik, so if any fool, if anybody is basically a fool, does say that they can think about something that happens without the will of WhyGuruji. So I'll say that again. So if there's anybody that does say that something can happen that's outside of the will of WhyGuruji, then oh jane jetya muhe khaye. Then they will know, jetya, how many beatings they'll basically have to endure in their mouth, right? So those people that think that, you know what, I'm doing this outside of WhyGuruji's hukum, right? When we know that hukum hai under the sabako, bahar hukum na koe. If they think something's happening outside of hukum, then only they're going to know how many beatings they're going to have to endure in their face, right? From the Jamduds. Ape jane, ape de. So Guruji is saying that WhyGuruji, ape jane, they know everything, right? WhyGuruji knows everything. And ape de, that WhyGuruji, they themselves, they give to everybody. So another way of looking at it, they know all of our actions, and they themselves then give us the fruits of those actions, right? So if we're doing things that we shouldn't be doing, we're going to get negative consequences. If we do things that are good, we're going to get good consequences. So it's saying that they are also so rare. So sipe, they are also keike, so rare, that speak about this. That say, WhyGuruji, whatever actions we do, you're going to give us dukkha or you're going to give us sukh. Right? These people, they are so rare. Jisno bakse sipata salah. So to whom, right? Jisno. To whom, WhyGuruji, you bakse, you bless. So those people you bless WhyGuruji with, sipata salah. So both of these mean praise. So WhyGuruji, whoever you bless with the blessings of singing your praises, then Nanaka Patasahi Patasaho. So Sikh Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying that those people are the king of kings. So those that sing the praise of WhyGuruji, they're the king of kings. And a Sakhi, just to illustrate this. So there was a king called King Adam. And he used to sleep in his bed where he just wanted loads of flowers in there, loads of like fragrant flowers like jasmine, things like that. And he used to sleep on that bed. I couldn't actually find a photo with flowers in the bed, strangely, apart from like the love heart ones. So this is all I could find. So basically, he had this bed that he was sleeping with, loads of fragrance of flowers, beautiful flowers on there. And one day the maid, she was making up this bed, right? So she was putting these flowers on there. And she thought, you know what? Imagine sleeping in this bed. It must be really nice. Let me just have a little lie down. So she lay down for a little bit. But what happened is with that comfort, with those fragrances, she fell asleep. And what happened is the king then came back. And he saw this maid in his bed. And in this anger, right? This anger that sometimes leads us to do wrong actions, he gets a stick and he starts beating her, right? He starts beating that woman. And she's crying and laughing at the same time. So he goes, okay, I understand why you're crying, because you're getting beats. Why are you laughing for? And she was a bit hesitant at first to answer. He asked again, why are you laughing when you're getting beaten up? And she said, I'm laughing because I only slept for just a very short while, for a few minutes, and I got this many beats. So she said, imagine that person who sleeps in this bed every night. What are they going to get? And when that king heard those words, it pierced his heart so hard that in that moment he thought, right, I'm going to leave everything, right? That she had what she said, that she received just those beats in a few minutes. I'd be sleeping there every night, and I was planning on sleeping there every night. What am I going to get? So he leaves his kingdom. He gives his whole kingdom, his whole Raj, to his son. His son's now the king. And he leaves and he goes towards the jungles. And he goes with 3 items, right? He goes with a toothbrush, a pillow, and a water pitcher. I don't know why doing toothpaste, but those are 3 things he had basically, right? He took them with him. And on the way, as he was walking, he saw somebody brushing their teeth with his finger. So he thought, I don't need this toothbrush. Gets rid of that. Then he sees somebody, instead of using a pillow, they're using the arm to sleep. And then he thought, Jalo, I don't need a pillow either. Then he saw somebody drinking water from the river with their hands, cupping their hands together. And he thought, I don't need this water pitcher either. So he basically renounced everything. And he went into the jungles and he meditated. And somebody saw that this is what he was doing, and they contacted, not by phone, but he contacted like their son, right, who was the king now. And he said, you're lucky you're in the kingdom, because your father, he's here in the jungles, right, living this lifestyle. And the son got a bit embarrassed. So he went to go see his father, and he saw his father basically patching up his clothes, right, patching up his clothes with a needle. And tears came in his eyes from seeing his father in this situation, right, in this situation that he's been put in. And he goes to his father, Father, just come back. You can meditate in the kingdom. And his father, at that point, he drops that needle in the river. And he said, I need this needle, right? I need to repair my clothes. And he says, get that needle for me. So the king, his son, then got all of his guards, all of his soldiers. He said, whoever can get this needle, I'll pay them loads of money. So everybody in that greed, everybody jumped in that river. Nobody could find the needle. The king himself, then the son, thought, right, let me try and find it. He couldn't find it. And then the father, he thought, let me try. And he told one of the fishes, he said, go get my needle. And the fish went and found the needle and gave it to him. And he said to his son, he said that you command people. But when I say something, I command the people, like I just did. I command the animals. I command the deities. Right? I command everybody. So who is actually the real king? Right? He said that by doing meditation of WhyGuru, that's how we become the king of kings. That no work of mine gets undone. And WhyGuru always sorts it out. Right? And we hear Rada Sahib, Har Jug Jug Bhagat Upaya, Baj Rakhda Aya Ram Raje. That every single jug, every single age, WhyGuru, they make their bhagats, right? They make their devotees. And then WhyGuru comes themselves to protect their honor. So, Nanak Apatasahi, Apatasaho. So, it's a bit of a short one today. I was hoping by Hudman Singh was going to do a Q&A, but he chipped. I think the EastEnders repeats are on. So, WhyGuru, they are the true giver, right? WhyGuru, they give, and they don't expect anything in return. People take and take, right? They take and take, and then they deny even being given anything, right? And Guruji tells us, the Guru won't stand with us if we do that. Suffering can be a gift, right? Right? That if that quote helps us, why do we fall? So we can learn to pick ourselves up. You know, I try and use that on myself all the time. That everybody goes through suffering. We may all put on a smiley face on the outside or a straight face, but inside we're all going on with our internal battles, right? But we're going through these things so we can learn to get through them. It makes us stronger, and we can help other people as well, because other people will experience the same things that we're having to go through. Living in the will of WhyGuru is the way to be liberated, right? It's all about acceptance. Most of our suffering comes because we're not accepting what's just happened. Just one simple example, that if we say to a friend, right, meet me at 3 o'clock at the cinema to go watch Barbie. It's the only film I can think of. So meet me at the cinema at 3 o'clock. Right, if you're waiting there and the showing's at 3 o'clock and they turn up at 3:30, we're going to get angry, right? We're going to get annoyed, right? Because we missed the film, we were waiting, we got ready, we were there on time. But the only reason we're angry is because we had an expectation and they didn't meet that expectation. And we're not in acceptance of that, right? We're refusing to accept that reality was different from our expectation, right? So living in the will of WhyGuru, that is the way to get liberated. And then to become the King of Kings, we just need to sing the praises of WhyGuru, right? And that only comes by being blessed to us. But the fact that we're here in the court of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, we're already being blessed. So please forgive me for the many mistakes I've made. We will ask for questions in shortly after I say Fateh. WhyGuru Ji ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji ki Fateh. Are there any questions on anything we've talked about today? Or any vichar? Maybe someone wants to share their own experiences. This is a safe and open space. Anybody seen Batman Begins? Hands up. Don't be ashamed, man. You put it up high, man. I'll be like over here. Batman is one of my favorite films. Okay. I'm not going to ask who's seen Barbie. So, okay, then if nobody's got any questions, then we'll just finish off with a bit of Kirtan. And hopefully we'll find out if we can do Sukhasan. Can you do Sukhasan? Neji? All right, okay. Well, we'll finish off some Kirtan and then we'll do some Samapti. So if you can, please stay for some Kirtan. That it will give us that boost going into next week. WhyGuru Ji ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji ki Fateh.